Sean Ross Sapp here for WrestlingInc.com, and we have Lucha Underground's Chavo Guerrero Jr. Chavo, awesome to have you here. How you doing?
Oh, man, good, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, Lucha Underground has this big Season 2 coming up. I believe they premiere on El Rey January 27th. What can fans expect out of Lucha Underground in Season 2?
Well, you know what? If you've seen Season 1, you're going to see more of the same but better, because now that we've actually, cut our teeth and actually kind of know what we're doing now, we're just going to come out and knock it out of the park because, what I compare it to, the Terminator movies. You know, you always see like a sequel come out and sequel's never as good as the original. Well, the Terminator movies, you had the Terminator 1, which was great. I love that movie. But when Terminator 2 came out, it was like, wow. I mean, they outdid themselves, Then T3 came out, it was awesome. And then we won't talk about the rest of them after that. But that's kind of like where we're at, We got to come out and knock it out of the park because now we got a lot of eyes on us, Not just the people that are just seeing it, are following up from Season 1, but we got people that are hearing this buzz come around, like, what the heck is this thing? And so we got to knock it out of the park. We can't have our production value be any less than it was before, or wrestling be any less. It's got to outdo it, and that's what we expect. That's what you should expect to see.
I kind of gave myself a few months before I really made firm in my statement, but I consider Lucha Underground Season 1 one of the best wrestling shows I've ever seen. Between, it's only an hour, the story progression, the wrestling, the character development, all of that, it makes it such a watchable show. But it's very different. I remember seeing the backstage segments at first, and I wasn't sure how to feel about it. Then I said to myself, well, what's wrong with being different? Just because I've been watching the same thing forever doesn't mean it's wrong to be different. What did you think of the interesting format of the show, and how were you approached about that?
You know what? Your feelings kind of were the same as everybody. When it first came out, when I first saw it, I was like, I was blown away because it was just, when you say everybody says they're different and nobody actually is. So these guys, we were actually different, and we kind of rewrote wrestling. And everybody, you read what the internet says and what people, fans are saying. And after the first 1 or 2 episodes, people were kind of like, God, it's different. Do we like it? Do we not like it? By the 3rd and 4th episode, everybody was hooked. Everybody's like, wow, this is great. That's what we've been waiting for. And it really is. We're a TV show. That's what wrestling is. We're a TV show. We're not, everybody else is a live event company. They're always trying to their TV shows only drive you to their live events or their pay-per-view or their channel, their network. That's all their TV show does. They're trying to drive you, trying to upsell you to everything else. We don't have that. We're just trying to get you to watch next week and next week and next week. We're an actual TV show, and that's what wrestling should be. It's a TV show, and that's what we are. We're almost like wrestling in a Breaking Bad movie, a show, or a Robert Rodriguez movie. That's what we did, and we just changed it up. I was so glad that it was something fresh and that we weren't just recreating what's on TV already, because I always compare. I say that WWE is the Coca-Cola of wrestling. They're the brand. Everybody's going to compare themselves to Coca-Cola. And if you just make another cola, well, all you are is a knockoff. You're an RC cola. That's all you are. Well, if you make a completely new beverage that's still a beverage, you're rewriting. You're making your own thing. When Red Bull first came out, that's what they did. They're an energy drink. There really wasn't anything kind of like that before, and they made themselves an energy drink. They made themselves a niche in the market, and now Monster came out and Rockstar and all these other energy drinks. Well, they're just kind of really just they're a knockoff of Red Bull. So I'm glad that we redefined wrestling, and I really feel that we did that. And it's so different that people will watch other wrestling shows And if you're not a wrestling fan, it's hard to get immersed into that product. If you're not a wrestling fan, which I am, and I love all of them, but with our show, it's a great show. It's a great TV show. And if you're not a wrestling fan, you don't have to be. You will be. You'll be a fan of our show because it's that compelling, and it really it's the cliffhangers, and we make every character mean something. There's no throwaway characters. There's no enhancement guys, want to say, they're job guys out there. We make every character mean something, and if we can't do that, then they're just not going to be on the show. And that's kind of, I'm really proud that we do that, and we have great writers, and Chris DeJoseph and Chris Roach and Matt Stolman, and these guys they're just so good and just at what they do.
Yeah, I spoke to Chris DeJoseph recently, and I asked him, I was like, well, how many guys do you have writing this show? It's such an in-depth show. And he said, well, just 3 of us. And WWE is notorious for having about 20-something, yet they've been creatively stifled. Meanwhile, Lucha Underground hasn't been. Do you think that maybe WWE has too many cooks in the kitchen when it comes to writing a show?
They don't have any cooks in the kitchen. They have one cook. That's the problem. They have Vince McMahon, I guess maybe now Triple H is right there. But that's all that they really have. All these other writers, they take dictation. And that's straight out of Freddie Prinze is a friend of mine, and when he was there, you got this award-winning actor-writer that left Hollywood, really, took a hiatus from Hollywood to go and take a huge pay cut to come and write for this show. And he and I quit on the exact same day. And I was like, well, why did you quit? He knew why I quit. I said, why did you quit? And he said, you know what? He goes, man, I left Hollywood. I left writing TV shows and starring on shows to come here because I love wrestling. And all I do is take dictation. He goes, like, we come up with all these ideas and we try to pitch them and we write and do something. We come in and they kind of get either shot down or watered down. And really all I do is just take the dictation from the boss. The boss wants to do this. And all right, here we go. We just make it work. So I think that's the problem, with Lucha Underground. And I can talk about it, and I obviously am because I'm just very passionate about it. But our writers are not handcuffed, so to speak. They really, they're given reign. Just go for it. And we can get away with a little bit more because of the network we're on, with the LA network. They let us kind of, we get away with some more, which is fun and makes our show just a little different, Another thing that makes our show different. But our writers just kind of can free reign and really show their writing capacity. And that's something that I've told every one of them. I go, guys, can you imagine how? And I didn't know that they were that good of writers because they were never allowed to run. They're always just held back and tied down and handcuffed again. And these guys, they're excellent. They're so good. And for us, in our first season to be on the Emmy radar, so to speak, that's huge. And that's wrestling's never been like that.
Yeah, and it's definitely worthy, in my opinion. I always point when people say, give me an explanation of how creative and how good Lucha Underground's writing could be. It took a guy like Angelico, who I wasn't familiar with. I don't get a chance to watch a whole lot of wrestling outside of America, or I didn't before my job. And he came across as this cocky, practically a douchebag, and then by the end of the season, Son of Havoc and Ivelisse were some of the most sympathetic characters I've ever seen on a wrestling program. Mm-hmm. And they were built that way. I also wanted to ask you about that. You had like sort of a feud with Sexy Star. What were your feelings on feuding with a woman and wrestling matches with a woman?
You know what? Anything can be done in wrestling. That's what I've learned. Anything can be done as long as it's done correctly and at the right time. And one of the biggest compliments is maybe our 8th or 10th taping, and Vince Russo from WCW and WWF.
Yeah, I do a podcast with him actually.
Yeah, so Vince came by, like him or hate him, but these guys made a huge impact on wrestling. He came to our show and was like, he was so happy and enthralled, and he was just so ecstatic about wrestling. He was going, wow, this is incredible, because the fact that he goes, the first time, he goes, when he saw me hit Sexy Star with a chair, he flipped out because he was so excited. He goes, man, this is what I wanted to do at WCW, and I just couldn't. They wouldn't let me do anything. We couldn't even touch girls. We couldn't do anything like that. And he goes, when I saw you hit Sexy Star, the wrestling world changed. And that's from his mouth. He's like, and a lot of people have said the same thing. That's when they were like, what the heck is this show? What? Everyone was shocked. And they were like, whoa. You know, and I got this luchadora who's tough as nails, and she's tougher than most of the guys. And she sat there and she goes, Chavo, you better hit me. You better hit me. So I hit her. I hit her good. And she just hit and took it, and she was a champ, you know, and she got her payback. You know, she's hit me a bunch of different times, which is awesome. But, you know, if you look at my history, I don't shy away from working with anybody. It's not like, well, I don't want to work with this guy. I'm going to prima donna everybody else. No, I'm like, hey, if they want me to do it, let's do it, and let's do it the best of their abilities. And you know, that really got Sexy Star over on our show, and it got me over. So I think it was a win-win on our TV show. You know.
Do you think? And I'm trying to think of how to frame this. You know, they would never do something like that in WWE, and I always wonder why, because they are an entertainment program. Vince McMahon goes out of his way to say, we are entertainment. I mean, as you mentioned, Breaking Bad, I mean, there wouldn't be a giant controversy if Walter White had smacked Skyler around on Breaking Bad because it's a show. So do you think, I mean, why does wrestling get treated differently, do you think, in some respects?
Well, it doesn't. If you look at the Attitude Era, WWF back in the day did do that kind of stuff. But now they're going different sponsors, and they're very PC because they went after different sponsors. They went after the McDonald's and Coca-Colas and that kind of stuff. So, you know, money talks. So they're gonna water their product down to get, you know, to make money, and that's kind of, you know, it's not going to make everybody happy, but it's going to make sponsors happy, and you start making them happy, you're making more money. So I see their point. I definitely see where they're at. You know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but that's something that we wanted to be different. You know, and Mark Burnett, our creator, our executive producer, Jim and Robert Rodriguez, the director, Mark Burnett actually said, look, I would rather fail being different than succeed being the same. And that's another reason why we're different from WWE. We're Lucha Underground. We're a different product, complete, you know. And if you look at our show, we've killed people on the show. We've killed people in wrestling. And
I saw a man get eaten.
Yeah, you know, so you see blood splat on the wall, and then that character's gone. And you can't do that in wrestling. You don't see, you know, John Cena getting killed or whatever, you know. It's just different. It's just a different product. It really is.
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, because you say Mark Burnett said something like that, which I think is very progressive. And the quote I've heard about Vince McMahon is that he would rather make $1 his way than $1 million somebody else's way. And I think that's, you know, one of the reasons why WWE has been creatively stifled lately.
I agree on that, but I see what you're saying. But also, you know, you got to stick. The guy's made a whole lot of money doing it his way, you know, and Vince, the way wrestling is today, the way that we can even exist is because of what Vince McMahon had done, and that's the progression that wrestling went into, and we just went to a different level of it. But you know, for somebody doing it his way, you know, he did it. He took a lot of chances, and I learned. I wouldn't be where I'm at if it wasn't for Vince McMahon. And the reason I'm saying that is because I learned so much from him. Not only him teaching me, but me watching him, and him not knowing he was teaching me. So you kind of learn, you know, I learned how to just take chances. And he always says that he's failed a lot more than he's succeeded. Just where he succeeded big. And that's kind of the progression of business and relationships and anything in life. You do fail a lot. Everything's not a home run, you know. You're just not, you know. Whether it be in baseball, you got Babe Ruth and all these guys that were huge strikeout kings. They're also huge home run kings. But that's just the way life is, you know. And people get so they let their failures kind of define their life, and that's not how life is defined. It's defined by your successions and you succeeding on things, and that's kind of like what I've kind of really learned from Vince McMahon. It's like you just, you know, it's not how many times you fall, it's how many times you get up, and that's the truth. You know, you're gonna fall a whole lot, but you get up, and those times you get up, you just knock it out of the park. You know.
Are you on good terms with WWE? It's been about 4.5 years since you left.
I guess. I mean, I haven't really talked to them since I left. You know, I'm on good terms with some of my agent friends, my producer friends there, and that kind of stuff. And I don't think that I'm on bad terms. I mean, I really don't know. I would hope, you know, you never want to burn a bridge in business, you know. But one thing though is that so many people they don't want to, you know, piss anybody off, so they kind of keep everything PC, even when they're not in an organization. So with me, it's kind of I can't do that. I kind of tell it the way it is, and you know, if that's going to get you in hot water, it's going to get you in hot water. But you just got to respect it. And I'm gonna tell you the way things are, and not sugarcoat things. You know, I'm not gonna live my life thinking, hey, God, I got to keep this opportunity open or that opportunity open. You sometimes you gotta do it your way, and that's, you know, what I've learned from Vince also. It's like you'd rather do it his way and fail than do somebody else's way and succeed, and that's kind of the same with me too. You know, so if I fail in anything, at least I did it my way. I failed my way. You know.
Yeah. You mentioned that you haven't really talked to them much. Have they not contacted you for like any WWE Network projects or anything like that? Because I mean, even the aforementioned Vince Russo has been appearing on the network.
No, you know what? I've always been kind of tied up with other organizations. So when I left there, and you know, you kind of stay away for a bit. Then I went to TNA for a bit, and you know, you can't really work for anybody else. And then when leaving TNA, I had some conversations with WWE, nothing really about work, but just with fans and with friends and that kind of stuff there, but nothing ever like ever going back or anything like that, nothing like that. But then I started with Lucha Underground, so you kind of you're tied up, and the way contracts and stuff work is you can't really do business with somebody else, with another wrestling organization like that, you know. But so your answer to your question is kind of really no. That's the reason why I haven't really done anything. Well, I guess one of the reasons you don't know, you know. But that's why, you know, I've just been locked up a lot, you know, locked down, doing other stuff with other organizations.
After your career is over, do you see yourself possibly maybe moving into an agent producer role, whether it's with WWE or anybody else? You obviously have a wealth of knowledge.
That's what I do now. Haven't you seen the end of Lucha Underground? It says produced by Chavo Guerrero. That's
true.
So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Is basically I am on air talent, but I'm involved in every aspect of that show. I mean, really, well, not everyone, but it's a whole bunch. You know, whether it be from writing to definitely the matches, and definitely like wardrobe and the rings and everything. Everybody's asking me directly or indirectly, like, hey, that's because this is what I do. I do wrestling. That's what I do. And now working on this show. Now let's go a little back history. These guys are Mark Burnett's guys. They come in and they're the best at what they do, but they've never done wrestling before. So that's where I came in. And when I first decided to sign with the company, I brought up the point, like, hey, I got a lot more to offer, and they realized that, so I came in as a different role. And really, they didn't know what to expect, and I didn't know what to expect, and we kind of wowed each other by coming in and just I give them all my knowledge of wrestling, and they give me all this TV knowledge, which is incredible. I'm involved, kind of like I said, in everything, whether it be showing the camera guys how to shoot wrestling, showing the sound guys, the ring person how to set that up, the set people. Now they got it. Now these guys got it. But when I first came in, man, I was man, I was telling everybody everything, different. We need different mats on the outside. We need these turbo because we're correct. This wardrobe, they can't wear that because they can't wrestle in the ring with that. You can't shoot it this way because look, they're flying out of the ring right there. I was doing kind of everything. Now these guys are pros. They're taking what I told them, and they've gone to the moon with it. So I hope they don't realize that and want to get rid of me. But that I was involved in everything. So and again, that goes back to really just being my experience with WWE and going to TNA, and kind of my experience with Guerreros. With that, my family's kind of done everything in the business also, and just learning from these people, and learning. And sometimes you don't realize how much you know until you kind of put it to work, and all of a sudden you're like, how do I know this stuff? You just do.
You mentioned TNA. How would you describe your time with TNA? That's to me the company. You come in and you really want to change. You want to be a part of it. You want to just, God, man, you want to change wrestling. And when I first came into TNA, man, I thought that roster was the best in the world. It was really, really good. I mean, there was, AJ Styles and Kurt Angle and Kazarian and Daniels and Sting, and you can go on and on. Aries and Rude. You can just go on and on. That locker, Samoa Joe, all these guys who were so good that I was like, God, we can compete with everybody, with anybody. That's how good that locker room was. And then you just quickly start realizing that it's not meant to do that. It's meant to just I don't know if it's just meant to get by or whatever, but it just the way that it's structured, it's never going to be that competition. It's going to be what it is, and that's what it is, and golf, more power to them, great. It just you quickly get a little disappointed and kind of disgruntled, and Booker T one time when he was there, he left and came to WWE while I was still there, kind of explained that to me too. I just didn't really. You get there and you got the gung ho. You want to just, you want to change the world. And thank God I'm here at Lucha Underground, because I feel like we are. I think we are changing the wrestling world at Lucha Underground. Yeah, I absolutely agree. What led to you leaving TNA?
I think it was a mutual. I kind of outpriced myself where they were at. They couldn't really afford to pay me, keep other people on payroll and that kind of stuff. And I just think they didn't have some creative for me. We came in originally. There was, straight from the boss's mouth was, man, we're hitting the Latino market, and man, you guys, our viewership with your demographic is already up 3% and this and that. And then all of a sudden, they got away from that, and that's, I'm like, oh, that's not really smart when you get 25% of the population and now you're getting away from them and you discarding them. I'm like, okay. And I just think that, you've got writers over there that whatever you see in wrestling, this is what I explain to you. Whatever you see in wrestling, and a lot of the fans will say, oh, this wrestler didn't do this right or didn't do this storyline right. It's not the wrestlers. It's the writers. The writers are the ones that are coming in and being creative. And we just kind of come in sometimes and, unless you're, John Cena or whatever, where you're able to, kind of have some big say, you're kind of you're at their mercy. You kind of just, you're kind of just got to make do with what they give you. I mean, I've seen the Undertaker WWE go in and lobby and fight for something and have to fight and fight and fight. So if you got him, he's the Undertaker, and having to fight for certain for things that he believed in and all that kind of stuff, and sometimes he lost. Well, then anybody else is really going to have to do it. So sometimes you got better writers in those organizations than other writers, and I just feel that maybe the writers in WTNA are kind of in the same boat as us, where they're kind of, well, we're just going to keep our jobs and we're not going to be changing the world, so we're just going to throw some stuff out there.
You were released in storyline through the Feast or Fired angle. Was that their idea? How did you feel about that? And I mean, I guess did you all come to the terms of your release before that, or did it just happen to happen?
You know what?
Because it's happened a couple times with them like that.
It's the craziest thing, because they didn't tell anybody. you're just in a storyline, and all of a sudden, hey, we're doing this. You get to work that day. You're in this match, and it's called a Feast or Fire match. I'm like, what is that? Well, you get a briefcase, and there's 4 briefcases on the pools, and whoever, 3 of them got, I don't know, contracts, or this and that, or whatever, and one's got a notice. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I wasn't familiar with the match because I didn't really watch the product, so I'm like, all right, let's go do it. So we did it, and it was funny because after that show, a production guy came in to me and was kind of like, hey, man, are you leaving? I'm like, oh, what are you talking about? I don't know. So obviously there's some inside scoop there. So then I started thinking about it. So wait a minute. It started dawning on me. I said, this can't be right. So then when I'm kind of finding out, wait a minute, Mike, is this the way you guys are, like, letting me go? I was pretty pissed. I was really underhanded and very, very, very non-professional. Like, that's one of the most unprofessional things I've ever had in the wrestling business. So when that happened, I was kind of like, oh, I talked to my lawyer, and he looked over a contract, and he's like, oh, no, they can't do that. This is they can't do that. I'm like, what do you mean? They said, well, there's a clause in my contract that I don't want to get too picture, but kind of, prohibited something like that. And so I kind of went to them, and I had some super, a good friend of mine is Bruce Pritchard, and he, was, had a lot of relations there and stuff. Well, he had already been let go also kind of very unprofessionally there too. And so I called him up. I said, can I do this? And he was like, oh, dude, this is no way. He started giving me this inside scoop. And I've known the guy since I was, 10 years old probably. So, we have a good relationship. And my lawyer sent his lawyer, and we CC'd everybody on that email, and basically said, you guys can't do that. So when that happened, we came to a mutual agreement and said, look, let's part ways, because now our relationship's kind of skewered here. It's kind of a little burnt and not going to be the same. Let's part ways. But I had some say so in the way that we were doing it. And because of that, and usually I wouldn't. And that's kind of the way it works. So we part ways, and really, it left a really, really bad taste in my mouth as far as like either treat like your talent like that, like and I come in from from being in WWE and being in a wrestling family and stuff, and was really I was in the booking committee and actually helping out and all these different things, and you're treating them like that. It's like, wow. It's like I didn't really want to work for them after that anyway. So okay, I probably would not even ever want to work for a company like that again. It's very hard for me to kind of say this, kind of do it PC way, because sometimes what you want to say is, oh man, it really go off, but that's going to sound like I'm just a disgruntled bitter old guy, and that's I don't want to say that. I just like I said before, I kind of say it the way it is, and I try to do it PC style, but that's kind of the way it was, and it just really was not professional. You see everybody that leaves, they're kind of starts talking the way that happens, like Christopher Daniels, he's lost 2 of those matches, and they were just sprung upon him too, and then he came back there 2 or 3 different times, and I was like, is this the way it is here? And he's like, yeah, I didn't know. And I said, wait a minute, this is not real. This is not a
happened to Daivari too.
Yeah, it's just exactly. This isn't you don't have to kayfabe your wrestlers and it was the weirdest thing. I was like, what? Like, it's so not working the boys seems kind of like in bad taste, does it not? It's super bad taste. So now you got your other employees, you want to call your other wrestlers, your other contractors, to actually see this and like, well, why are they going to want to work for you if you're seeing the way you treat other people? So that's that's one thing that I've learned in wrestling too. And I got my own business going and stuff, and that you don't want to treat anybody like that. So that's something I definitely do not want to treat my customers, my employees, anybody like that.
Yeah, one more TNA question, and I promise we're done with that.
Yeah, no problem.
How do you feel about Dixie Carter as a boss, and what do you think that TNA has to do to survive? Because they've had some rough times.
I like Dixie very much as a person for sure. As a boss, I don't really know how much she actually has hands on in that because there's a lot of people just kind of involved and I don't know if she just got complete say. You know, it's not like Vince McMahon that goes in and says this was going to happen and this. Or at least when I was there, that's what it was. If Vince said it was going to happen, then it happened. You know, if he said it wasn't going to happen, then it didn't happen. And if it did happen, when he said it didn't happen, whoever made it happen, it was gone. And I saw it happen. You know, I saw that happen. So I just I don't know. It's very confusing. You know, as far as Dixie as a person, I like her. She's really cool, and you know, I got a Christmas card for her this year, and again, I wish nothing but good things for TNA because it's better for the wrestling world. It's better for the rest. If they would succeed, it's better for the wrestling fan. It's better for the wrestlers. It's better all the way around. You know, I always go back to the Monday Night Wars when you had these two huge companies, WWF and WCW, competing against each other. Wrestling was never better. It was never better because the competition and everybody won because the promoters were making money, the wrestlers were making money, the fans got this incredible product, and these guys just man, these great shows for a time there where it was like wrestling had never been better, never been higher. So I want TNA to succeed. It baffles me sometimes thinking like, don't you guys want to make money? It's not that hard.
Do you think they'd have been better off if Toby Keith and Jeff Jarrett had bought the company like it was rumored?
God, you could say anything, you know. Who knows? Who knows? You could say, you know, that they'd be better off, maybe they would have been. You know, who knows? I don't know. You know, it's one of those that it's just it baffles me thinking like if I was in charge, I would have done things extremely different, and maybe you wouldn't have been able to succeed, you know, and compete either. But just with that roster, how could you not?
It was an amazing roster.
How could you not compete? How could you not compete? Just let these guys go and actually have. I mean, it didn't have to be these incredible storylines because these wrestlers were so good. They could have the best matches on the planet right there. You know,
just the X division alone. You look up and down non-WWE rosters now, and it's a who's who of pro wrestlers. I mean, you know, you got Jay Lethal, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. All these guys are at the tops of NXT, Ring of Honor, New Japan right now.
And where do they come from?
TNA,
right? I mean, it's kind of crazy that it's just to me it's just sad, man. I really wanted them to do well because it was good for everybody, you know. And it's just sad for the wrestlers, it's sad for the fans, it's sad for the promoters because you know that they're not making the money. Nobody's making the money they could have made and would want to have made. And you got giving the fans a product that I just feel that that the fans deserve so much more.
Yeah, just a couple more for you. You've wrestled in Mexico, WCW, Lucha Underground, WWE, TNA. What was your favorite run in the business?
Definitely right now. Right now. I'm not saying that because that's where I'm at and it's part of the show that I'm at. But I'm having more fun doing this right now. This reminds me of right before I was in TNA, I ended up doing Rinka King in India, and it was like a Jeff Jarrett / TNA production. I guess I don't really know. It was an Endemol. They Endemol, the big production company. They got aligned with them and did this thing in India. And it was fun, man. It was great. It's kind of making me like wrestling again. It was just fun. We went in there and just being in India, but it was a great crew, and everybody wanted to work hard, and it was just fun. It really was. And then this reminds me of that even more because it's just so good. Just Lucha Underground is it's not only we try to make the locker room awesome, we try to make with the fans awesome. You got these, we call the fans the believers. Because they believe they were the ones who started with us, and now, you know, this product is getting out there. That's incredible, you know. And I'm just having so much fun working on it. And it's a lot of work, but it's not work if you enjoy it. They say, you know, and that's kind of what it is. I mean, we get there, we work our butts off, and I don't stop for about 12 straight hours. You know, I'm running around and between working, and sometimes that I'm in the control room with headsets on, dressed for my match, and as I'm calling the matches and asking what's going on and talking to the director, I'm stretching for my match, and I take the headset off, I run out there, I go do my match, and I run back all sweaty into the production office and throw those headsets back on and take over again, you know? So, not take over, add that way. I didn't mean like that, but people say, oh, he's in charge. No, absolutely not. There's so many people in charge, way above me. It's work, but it's so fun, man. I really love doing it. I'm just really so proud of the product that we're putting out there, and there's nothing like it. We always say this with Lucha Underground, and kind of going off of your subject a little bit, your question, but
it's fine.
With Lucha Underground, and nobody else tells you this. We say this: watch their shows, and then watch ours, and you tell me which one you like better. That's how confident we are in our product. We don't sit there and talk for 15, 20 minutes before we even have one wrestling match. We have 1 hour to put out a kick-butt program, and that's what we do. And
I might listen to Dario Cueto talk for 15 minutes, though. He's
right,
awesome.
He's awesome. That guy's awesome. He's so good. But really, it's watch their product and then watch ours. That's how confident we are in that product, you know. So back to your question, I'm having the most fun in my career right now for sure.
Speaking of fun, you had those awesome vignettes with Eddie. How much input did you all have in the Los Guerreros vignettes?
That was all our idea. You know, one time, anything that really happened in WWE for the most part was my idea, going to Vince and Vince liking it, and kind of so you have to sell Vince on it, and then he likes it, and then he gets behind it. You know, turning on Rey and the Los Guerreros vignettes, and kind of really everything with CM Punk. Those were all my ideas. So me and Eddie, this is the story behind it. Me and Eddie, this is when Vince used to still eat in catering. We went up to him and we pulled him aside and said, hey, we have this idea. We were already Los Guerreros. Actually, we weren't Los Guerreros. We were just the Guerreros out there wrestling as a heel tag team. Everybody hated us. It was awesome. It was great. That's one of my favorite runs also, you know, is working with Eddie. But we went up to him and said, hey, Vince, we have this idea where we want to basically light sheet steel. We kind of explained it that way. And he's like, that's good. I love it. So by the end of that day, Bruce Pritchard came up to us and said, hey, we'll be filming vignettes next week. And we're like, really? Oh, wow, awesome, great. So we're thinking vignettes, you know, backstage vignettes, okay, whatever. No, we get a call saying they rented out this house in Beverly Hills. We had trailers, we had catering, we had everything for us to shoot these vignettes. I mean, it was crazy. So when I got there, I looked at Eddie and I was like, wow, I didn't expect this. Did you? He's like, no. We were really like wow. And we knew we had to knock it out of the park. So they had these things, you know, written for us, and we kind of, you know, ran with it and kind of put our Guerrero spin on it, you know, and we filmed them. We thought, wow, we didn't know what was going to happen. You know, we really wanted to stay heels. So we walked out one week and they booed the heck out of us. They booed us and it was great. It's perfect. And then that same show, our first vignette aired with us stealing the baby bottle from the lady, and he stole her watch and our wallet, and I stole the baby bottle. I was like, because that's all that was left, right? So when that happened, the very next week we didn't think anything of it. People, hey, that was cool. They liked it. The next week, and nothing changed. We came out the same mention, the same music, same everything. There was no lowriders, there was none of that yet. We walked out, and everybody cheered us. And me and Eddie stopped in the entryway. We looked at each other and went, crap, we're baby faces. and we're like, that was absolutely not what we intended to do. And we went to Triple H and said, well, how come we're baby faces? And he said, you guys are too entertaining. That's what's going on. You're too entertaining. And that's what happened, you know. So that's what a good TV show does, is actually that you write things, and depending the way where it goes, you don't see things sometimes, and just where it goes, and you just follow that path. Sometimes other TV shows don't follow that path, and they try to buck it, and that's where they go wrong. So in Lucha Underground, even though we write, and it's kind of written, we have you know, a lot of the season written. depending where these characters go and how the fans really start buying or not buying the character, we change paths. And that's what how Pentagon Jr. came about. We already knew he was a great talent. We didn't know that he was going to just, because he'd never been in this kind of TV program before. He'd been wrestling for a long time, but never like this. And he just took off. The whole thing was Son of Havoc. At first, they were booing and booing. Now he starts getting these cheers, and he's not doing anything different. They're like, wow, they like this character. He was their favorite. And he didn't really.
I love the development of him.
And then,
it was beautiful.
Yeah, and then going into with Evilise and Angelico, we had an idea, but then you kind of got to play where it goes from there, and then you got to start writing from that. You got to start changing writing, and in wrestling, people get hurt, or new people get signed in, or some people get don't want to re-sign, and so you have to call audibles all the time. And that's why I think our writers are, some of the best in the business, because they're really good at calling audibles.
It's definitely the most creative wrestling show, one of the most creative shows, period, on TV.
I agree.
Speaking of that, Rey Mysterio, one of the most creative guys in wrestling history, joined Lucha Underground. How did you feel about that? And were you had to know that negotiations were ongoing?
I don't know what you're talking about, because that haven't even aired yet, so I have no idea what you are actually talking about.
Come on, you all have announced it. It's been announced.
I know. We're just playing. I'm just playing with you. But you know what? That's, for any organization, that's like getting a Tom Brady in football. That's huge free agent pickup. And it's just a fit, especially at this point in his career, and just where we're at, where he's at. It's such a fit. And Ray, there's I always say with Ray that I've heard 20 times or 30 times people say, "Oh, this guy's the next Rey Mysterio. He's the next Rey Mysterio." No way. There is one Rey Mysterio, and that's it. There's a lot of people that are really good, but there's nobody like Rey. So he, for us, to get him, it just works, because just where our show's coming, and when he came backstage one time, and when he was a free agent, and he came backstage and he saw it, he looked at me and he was like, "What the heck? I've never seen anything like this." And he's such a great guy to work with, and not just creatively, but professionally. He's just a great guy to work with. So we're just really, really happy to pick him up, and I think he's really happy too.
Tell me about this VLR clothing line. It's launching in 2016, right?
Awesome. Well, it's already launched, and we're taking it to another level in 2016. But I had trademarked for clothing Viva la Raza, and I couldn't believe that it wasn't taken, and I ended up getting it. But we switched it to VLR, because we're creating a brand, me and some of my partners, and creating this brand that's it's a brand for everybody, definitely Latino overtones, because that's pop culture right now. It's really pop culture, and we're kind of giving, for all my, my Latino brothers and sisters out there, that we're giving them something. This is for you guys. We're making this for you. That's so cool that everybody else is going to want to do it. It's like, gosh, I would say like Lowriders or something like that. Lowriders really is originally a Latino concept, but it was so cool that other people started adopting it and really got into Hollywood and stuff, and it's just so cool that everybody wants a piece of it. But really, it's straight up Latino. That's straight up, that's what it is. And it's just so cool that it's bigger than that. And that's what we're doing with this brand, is making something that's really Latino, but it's for everybody. It's just bigger than that. It's just a really, really cool brand. I got some really great partners that are behind me that have done this kind of stuff before, and they just saw the potential in this thing, thinking, wow, this thing is really big and can be really, really big. So it just started off really, really slow. If you go to vivavlr.com, you can see our snapbacks and T-shirts right now. But in 2016 is when we'll be going retail and in other places. So right now, that's just a huge work in progress that I think is just going to skyrocket.
Yeah, quite honestly, those VLR shirts kick ass. Those are awesome looking shirts.
Thanks, man. Thanks. And you haven't even seen anything yet. We have so many other designs, and we're trying to walk before we can run. You know, it's hard because as a baby wants to start running, he's gonna fall. That's what we're trying not to do. We're trying to really crawl first, and then walk, and then run. And so we're kind of launching it slowly on purpose.
Also, guys, make sure to check out Chavo's Pro Wrestling Tees page. He has 3 T-shirts up there, so support him that way. What other projects do you have going on?
You know what? I just I'm really getting into acting now. You know, and just became a member of Stunts Unlimited, which is the biggest stunt organization in all of Hollywood. And just been trying to film an episode of Grimm recently, and did a pilot with John Singleton called Snowfall, and kind of exercising my acting abilities and creative kind of abilities too, you know. And what's going on with Hollywood is awesome is that it's just a testament to all the wrestlers out there, because Hollywood's really starting to see that these wrestlers can do it all. These wrestlers are stuntmen, are improv specialists, are actors, are comedians, you know, are kind of they do everything. And you look at the success that The Rock's had and John Cena's having in Hollywood, people are seeing like, wow, these guys are really, really talented. And a lot of Hollywood's already known that, which is like the stuntmen, you know, Chuck Norris and Jackie Chan were all huge fans of ours because we do these things live every night, you know, and different every night. So they were kind of astounded by that. But the rest of Hollywood's starting to do it. So you know, we're starting to see that all the different characters that I played, whether it be a villain or a babyface or a white guy or riding a sick horse, that people are starting to think, this guy's kind of talented. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, man. I got that going on, and if you follow me on Twitter at MexWarrior or on Instagram at Chavo Guerrero Jr., you'll see all of my projects. I've got a ton of projects in the works. I got a couple of reality shows, a production company, and really just kind of branding out there. And all of that is due to wrestling, what I've learned in wrestling, what I've learned from my family, and just kind of it's kind of my production company is kind of like. People are like, you already do this. You should start your own production company. I go, I guess you're right. I didn't really know that I did, but I guess I do.
Yeah, guys, definitely follow Chavo on, as he said, Instagram and Twitter at MexWarrior. Yeah, we see more and more pro wrestlers getting into stuff. I was at a Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg movie this week, and I saw Taryn Terrell get hit in the face with a basketball. So
you're right, exactly. It's funny, right?
So who knows? But, Chavo, I want to thank you so much for taking the time. It took a giant portion of your day to speak with us. Lucha Underground, January 27th, Wednesdays on El Rey. Can't wait for this second season. I was so excited when it was announced. But thank you so much for speaking to us and being so candid and honest.
No, thanks for having me again. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the fans always supporting wrestling and supporting La Familia Guerrero, the Guerrero family. And what I always end up with is Viva la Raza.